The human is an expression of the one consciousness, or any non-physical entity can only also be an expression of the one consciousness. Throughout history, humanity has pondered one profound question: what happens when we die? Across cultures, countless narratives about the afterlife have been shared, yet one text stands out for its depth and insight: the Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as Bardo Thodol. But there's more to this ancient work that meets the eye. While it offers a guide to the afterlife, it also holds a powerful truth. It doesn't just teach us about death. It shows us how to truly live. Join us as we delve into the mysteries of life and death. The journey beyond, according to the Bardo Thodol, death is not an end but a transformation. The soul moves through bardos, or transitional states, which exist between death and rebirth. These states reveal the nature of reality in ways that are both enlightening and terrifying. The first bardo begins at the moment of death. The text describes this as a time when the soul becomes aware of its separation from the body. In this instant, there is clarity, a moment of potential liberation where the soul can recognize its true nature and merge with the infinite. However, fear and attachment often cloud this clarity, pulling the soul into the next stages. The moment of death is not just an ending. It is a gateway, a threshold where the veil between the physical and the spiritual lifts, offering a unique and transformative opportunity. According to Bardo Thodol, this moment is sacred, a time when the true nature of reality becomes clear, if only we have the presence of mind to recognize it. The bardo of the moment of death. As death approaches, the first step is to release all attachments to this life. Imagine shedding layers of a heavy garment, each piece representing desires, fears, and regrets that tether us to the physical world. Attachment clouds our vision, binding us to cycles of suffering. The teachings suggest that instead of clinging to what is passing, we should embrace the transition with an open heart and mind, seeing it not as a loss but as a profound liberation. Confession plays a vital role here, not in the sense of judgment or punishment, but as an act of cleansing. It is an opportunity to acknowledge our missteps and free ourselves from their weight. Think of this as clearing a path through a dense forest. The thorns of guilt and shame no longer obstruct the journey ahead. Instead of being consumed by fear or regret, the teachings urge us to turn toward joy, recognizing that this is not an ending, but a chance to step into the light of a new beginning. In these moments, the Bardo Thodol invites us to focus on the clear light of death, a radiant clarity that reflects the pure nature of the mind. This light, described as vast and boundless, is said to appear before the soul as the body begins to dissolve. Recognizing this light is akin to finding your true essence, a state beyond ego, beyond duality, and beyond the limitations of the material world. This should not be feared but welcomed. It is as if all the illusions of life dissolve, leaving only the truth. But what if you don't recognize the clear light? Even then, hope is not lost. The bardo of the moment of death offers another gift: the chance to set an intention. Imagine standing at a crossroads, knowing that the direction you choose will shape your journey. The text encourages a joyful determination to seek out pure realms, places of peace, wisdom, and spiritual growth like Akanishta, Zangdokpalri, or Sukhavati. These realms are not distant fantasies but representations of higher states of consciousness, available to those who align their intentions with their highest potential. In the teachings of Buddhism, this practice mirrors the parable of the lotus flower. The lotus grows in muddy water, yet it rises above the surface, untouched by the mud, to bloom in pristine beauty. Similarly, even in the turbulence of death, the soul has the capacity to rise above the fears and attachments of the physical world, blossoming into a state of purity and light. The key is unwavering intention. Thoughts are not fleeting in this state. They are powerful and formative. The Bardo Thodol reminds us that our final thoughts shape the direction of the soul's journey. By maintaining a focused and joyful intention to reach a pure realm, we can guide ourselves toward a higher spiritual existence. It is not about avoiding death but embracing it as a continuation of the soul's journey, a step toward ultimate liberation. In a way, this practice echoes the wisdom of ancient philosophers like Plato, who saw life as a preparation for death. He believed that the soul's ultimate goal was to transcend the physical and return to the realm of the eternal. To do so, one must cultivate wisdom, virtue, and an understanding of the higher truths that lie beyond the material world. The Bardo Thodol offers a similar perspective, urging us to see the moment of death as a return to our true nature, a homecoming of the soul. This approach to death is not just about the afterlife. It is a lesson for the living. If we can practice releasing attachments, embracing clarity, and setting intentions now, we prepare ourselves not only for death but for life itself. Each moment becomes an opportunity to align with our highest self, to live with purpose and awareness. In the final moments, when the familiar world begins to fade, the Bardo Thodol assures us that the soul is not lost. It is simply stepping into a new chapter, guided by the clarity of its intentions and the purity of its essence. The moment of death, then, is not something to fear but to embrace, a sacred transition that reveals the boundless potential of the soul. And into the next of the Bardos, the Bardo of Luminosity. In this phase, dazzling lights and deities appear. The Bardo Thodol teaches that these are reflections of one's own consciousness. Those who recognize them as such can achieve liberation. But for those overwhelmed by fear, the lights become frightening, and the journey continues. At the heart of the Bardo of Luminosity is the art of letting go. This is not a passive surrender but an active choice to release what no longer serves you, letting go of fear, of attachments, of the need to control. It is through this release that we find freedom. What are you allowing into your awareness? Are the books you read, the conversations you engage in, and the thoughts you entertain leading you closer to clarity? Or are they pulling you deeper into illusion? In the stories we tell ourselves, we often believe we are in control. Yet the Bardos remind us of a humbling truth. Much of life is beyond our grasp. Just as the soul cannot stop the flow of the Bardos, we cannot prevent change in life. What we can do, however, is choose how we respond. This echoes the teachings of Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, who taught that while we cannot control events, we can control our thoughts about them. The Bardo Thodol takes this a step further, urging us to not just manage our thoughts but to recognize their illusory nature. Are your fears real, or are they shadows cast by your mind? Are your desires truly your own, or are they echoes of societal conditioning? Living with awareness means questioning the stories that guide your actions. It means peeling back the layers to discover what is real and what is illusion. The Bardos reveal that freedom comes when we stop clinging to what we think we know and start embracing the unknown. The Hindu parable of the monkey trap illustrates this beautifully. A monkey, desiring the rice inside a jar, reaches in and grabs it, but its clenched fist is too large to pull out of the jar. The monkey's freedom is only possible if it lets go of the rice, but its attachment keeps it trapped. In life, we are often like that monkey. We cling to what we think we need, only to find ourselves trapped. The Bardo Thodol teaches us to unclench our fists and open our hands. It teaches us that freedom comes not from holding on but from letting go. This light is not something external. It is the very essence of your mind, your true nature, stripped of ego and illusion. Yet recognizing it can be challenging. The illusions we carry, fears, attachments, regrets, can cloud our ability to merge with this light. This is where the guide becomes essential. Like a navigator steering through uncharted waters, they ground you gently, redirecting your focus when it wavers, and encouraging you to see the light not as something separate, but as your own infinite essence. The role of the guide reflects one of the deepest expressions of compassion in Tibetan culture. Imagine someone walking beside you at the edge of the unknown, offering steady direction when the world as you know it fades away. This guide might be a teacher, a loved one, or even your own inner wisdom, cultivated through years of mindfulness and spiritual practice. They are there to remind you of what you've prepared for all your life, that death is not an end but a moment of profound opportunity. In Tibetan Buddhism, the instructions for the dying are precise and filled with wisdom. The text tells us not to fear the radiant light that appears as the physical body begins to release its hold on the mind. This light is your essence, pure and boundless, and merging with it is a chance for liberation. But if the light feels too intense, the guide encourages you to approach it gently, without judgment or fear, and to see it as an opening rather than an obstacle. The journey through the Bardas isn't just about facing the light. It also involves countering visions, peaceful deities that embody compassion and wisdom, as well as wrathful figures that mirror hidden fears and desires. These are not external entities but reflections of your own mind, projections of your consciousness. The guide helps you see them for what they truly are, opportunities to understand and release the patterns that bind you. This perspective transforms fear into insight and chaos into clarity. This approach to death stands in stark contrast to many Western practices, where dying is often viewed purely as a medical process to be managed and delayed. In the Tibetan tradition, death is as much a spiritual journey as it is a physical one. It is treated with the same reverence as birth, understood as a threshold that demands preparation, awareness, and an open heart. And finally, we reach the bardo of becoming. This is one of the most mysterious and transformative stages of existence, often described as a liminal space where the karmic seeds planted in our deepest consciousness begin to bear fruit. The bardo of becoming is the bardo where the consequences of all our actions, thoughts, and intentions from previous lives come into play, shaping the trajectory of our next existence. It's not a random process, but one influenced by the energies and patterns we've cultivated over lifetimes. In this transitional state, our consciousness is like a dreamer, floating through a vivid and often disorienting realm filled with powerful appearances. These appearances, colored by the karma we've accumulated, can range from blissful and inspiring to chaotic and terrifying. They aren't external realities but projections of our own mind, magnified by the lack of a physical body to ground us. Each vision, each sensation, carries the weight of our past choices. It's during this bardo that glimpses of our next life begin to emerge. Signs of the realm we are destined for, whether divine, human, or more challenging, begin to shape our awareness, nudging the consciousness toward its rebirth. The bardo of becoming teaches us a profound truth about existence. Nothing is fixed. Even in this transitional state, transformation is possible. If one recognizes the illusory nature of the visions and remains grounded in awareness, liberation is still attainable. This is why spiritual preparation in life is so essential. Practices like mindfulness, compassion, and ethical living strengthen the ability to navigate this bardo with clarity, lessening the grip of fear and attachment. To understand this better, let's consider the teachings of Meister Eckhart, the Christian mystic of the 13th century. Eckhart, though rooted in the Christian tradition, spoke often about the nature of the soul and its relationship to divine truth in ways that resonate deeply with the wisdom of the Bardas. He believed that the soul is constantly in motion, yearning for unity with the divine. This yearning, he taught, is the source of both our suffering and our potential for transcendence. Eckhart's reflections on detachment mirror the guidance for the bardo of becoming. He emphasized the need to let go of everything that binds the soul to the material world, attachments to possessions, identity, and even the concept of self. For Eckhart, this detachment was not about renunciation for its own sake, but about making space for the divine to enter fully. Be willing to be a beginner every single morning, he advised, echoing the idea that every moment offers a chance for renewal and liberation. In the bardo of becoming, this detachment becomes a lifeline. The overwhelming visions and sensations are born from our clinging to desires, fears, and the illusions of permanence. By releasing these attachments, the consciousness can move freely, unburdened by the weight of karma, and perhaps even transcend the cycle of rebirth altogether. Eckhart's teachings also remind us that the divine is not something distant. He described God as the ground of being, an ever-present essence that is closer to us than our own breath. This aligns with the Buddhist concept of recognizing the clear light of awareness, the ultimate reality that is always within us, even amidst the chaos of the bardos. To see the divine or the clear light is to realize that the terrifying appearances of the bardo of becoming are ultimately unreal. They are shadows cast by our own minds, and they dissolve the moment we recognize their illusory nature. What makes the bardo of becoming so significant is the understanding that it is both a result and a possibility. It reflects the karma we've created, but also offers the chance to shape a different future. Imagine this bardo as a mirror, reflecting every action, thought, and intention back to us. If we've cultivated love, generosity, and wisdom, these qualities will guide us like a beacon through the storm. But if we've sown seeds of greed, anger, and ignorance, the journey becomes more tumultuous. Even then, awareness and clarity can transform the path. Eckhart's mysticism offers hope here. He believed that divine grace could illuminate even the darkest moments of the soul's journey. This grace isn't something external. It arises from within, from the very essence of our being. Similarly, in the bardo of becoming, the light of awareness is always present, waiting for us to see it. The challenge lies in overcoming the distractions and fears that obscure it. Let's consider the parable of the gardener and the two seeds, a tale often told to reflect on the power of intention and the care we give to our thoughts and actions. Once there was a gardener who stood at the edge of a vast and fertile field. In his hand he held two seeds. One seed was said to grow into a magnificent tree that provided shade, fruits, and shelter to all who came near it. The other seed would sprout into a thorny, invasive plant that choked out all other life around it. The gardener, curious and eager, decided to plant both seeds to see what would happen. Each day he watered the seeds, pulling weeds and tending to the soil. Over time, the thorny plant began to grow quickly. It spread with wild abandon, its thorns cutting into the gardener's hands and driving away animals that had once come to the field. The tree, however, grew slowly, its progress almost imperceptible. Frustrated by the slow growth of the tree, the gardener began to devote more time to the thorny plant, believing it was at least something alive and thriving. Years passed, and the field became a desolate, overgrown mess. The thorny plant had taken over, its sharp branches blocking out the light and poisoning the soil. The tree, deprived of care, withered and died. The gardener stood in his barren field, realizing too late that he had spent his energy nurturing destruction instead of growth. This parable mirrors the journey through the bardo of becoming. In this transitional state, the seeds of our actions, our karmic imprints, sprout into the landscapes we experience. The thorny plant represents the harmful thoughts, attachments, and negative actions we cultivate in life. These grow quickly, dominating our minds and shaping our experiences in ways that lead to suffering. The tree symbolizes the virtues of kindness, mindfulness, and compassion, which take time and care to develop but ultimately bear fruit that nourishes us and others. In the bardo of becoming, we become the gardener of our own consciousness. The seeds we've planted through our thoughts, words, and deeds spring forth into the visions and experiences we encounter. If we've spent our lives feeding anger, jealousy, or greed, the thorns of these emotions appear vividly in the bardo, pulling us toward realms of struggle and pain. But if we've nurtured compassion, wisdom, and love, these energies guide us toward the realms of peace and clarity. This story also highlights the importance of patience and perseverance. The gardener gave up on the tree because it didn't show immediate results, much like how we might neglect our spiritual practice when its benefits seem distant. Yet it is the quiet, steady growth of the tree that would have provided lasting joy and sustenance. Similarly, the virtues we cultivate in life may not always yield instant results, but their roots grow deep, and their impact endures far beyond what we can see. In the bardo of becoming, there is no hiding from the garden we've created. The thorny plants of our unexamined habits and unresolved karma rise up, making themselves known. But even then, there is hope. The gardener, though overwhelmed by the thorns, can always choose to start anew. With each moment of awareness, we are offered a chance to redirect our focus, to nurture the seeds of enlightenment rather than suffering. Finally, the soul reaches a stage where it prepares for rebirth. Karma, the energy of past actions, begins to shape the conditions of the next life. Choices made in this state determine the circumstances of rebirth, often driven by desires or unresolved attachments. A map for the living, life is a series of transitions. Each day, each moment, each decision marks a movement from one state of being to another. The ancient wisdom of the Bardo Thodol reveals a truth that echoes far beyond its teachings on death. It's not just about navigating what comes after the final breath. It's about understanding how to live fully right now. This sacred text offers a map not just for the soul's journey after death, but for the journey we undertake every single day. The Bardo states described in the text are not limited to the realm of the afterlife. They mirror the passages we experience in life. Moments of clarity that shine through the fog, challenges that shake our foundation, and opportunities to rise beyond the ordinary. The text dares us to ask questions we often avoid. Are we awake to reality, or are we sleepwalking through a dream crafted by fear and illusion? Are we living with intention, or are we at the mercy of our attachments and desires? These questions are not just philosophical musings. They are keys to liberation. And liberation doesn't wait for the end of life. It begins here and now. Transitions as teachers. Every transition in life, whether it's a new job, a relationship ending, or even the shift from day to night, mirrors the Bardo states. These are moments where the old falls away and something new is born. The Bardo Thodol teaches that the clarity of these moments is where true freedom lies. In life, clarity often comes uninvited. It may strike in the stillness of heartbreak or the chaos of change. It's the moment when you see things as they are, unclouded by expectations or fears. These moments, though fleeting, carry the seeds of transformation. They show us that life is not about holding on. It's about letting go. But letting go is not easy. Fear clings to the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. Attachments bind us to patterns that keep us from growing. This is why the Bardo Thodol emphasizes awareness. It's not about denying the challenges or pretending they don't exist. It's about facing them with open eyes and an open heart. The present moment as liberation. The most profound lesson of the Bardo Thodol is that liberation is always available in the present moment. Death is not the only opportunity for awakening. Every moment in life offers a chance to step into clarity. This teaching is echoed in the words of the Buddha. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. The present is the only place where life truly happens. Yet how often are we truly present? Most of us live in a state of distraction. We replay past mistakes or rehearse future scenarios, all the while missing the beauty and potential of now. The Bardos teach us that the key to freedom lies in the here and now. By bringing awareness to this moment, we step out of the cycle of fear and desire. But presence is not just about mindfulness. It's about courage. The courage to face what is without judgment or resistance. It's about letting go of the ego's need to control and surrendering to the flow of life. The dance of letting go. Imagine how different our experience of death and life could be if we embraced this perspective. Instead of fearing the end, we could see it as a natural and meaningful continuation of existence. This reimagining doesn't just apply to the moment of death. It reshapes how we live. The teachings of the Bardo Thodol invite us to approach life with the same awareness, mindfulness, and intention required in the Bardos. By doing so, we prepare not only for a peaceful death but for a richer, more authentic life. The idea of a guide doesn't have to remain in the realm of ancient teachings. Think of the parallels in modern life. A counselor offering support during a crisis, a mentor helping you navigate a career transition, or even a friend grounding you in moments of doubt. In each case, the role is the same: to remind you of your own strength, wisdom, and clarity when you're struggling to see it for yourself. This guidance is not about taking away your agency, but about empowering you to meet challenges with courage and grace. In the same way, the guide in the Bardo Thodol doesn't rescue you but helps you recognize your own capacity for liberation. They point you toward the light, but it is you who must step into it. Death, the teachings suggest, is not a plunge into the unknown but a guided journey toward understanding your own consciousness. It is a moment when all the distractions and illusions of life fall away, leaving only what is true. This is why the Bardo Thodol is as much a guide for the living as it is for the dying. By learning to face death consciously, we learn to live with fearless awareness and an open heart. So how do we bring this ancient wisdom into our modern lives? It begins with acknowledging death not as something to avoid but as a teacher. Imagine what it would be like to live each day knowing you are ready for the moment when everything changes. How might it transform your choices, your relationships, and your priorities? The teachings invite us to see life as preparation for this final journey. Each breath becomes an opportunity to practice letting go, to live with clarity and intention, and to cultivate the awareness that will guide us through the Bardos.